Constitution assures that everyone will be treated equally under the law. This is meant to protect human rights and uphold justice. This article guarantees that everyone will have the same legal rights, no matter where they come from. Article 8 does not affect specific rights related to education and does not apply to laws in Sabah and Sarawak that give indigenous inhabitants exceptional rights, such as land allocations, ownership rights, and preferential treatment when it comes to government land ownership. From a religious point of view, everyone is equal. Individual distinction must not to constitute a ground for discrimination. Instead, they should promote mutual recognition and evaluation predicated on one's degree of devotion. John Rawls argued that people are not naturally equal, but that justice may be achieved by meeting the unique needs of each person and giving the less fortunate the right benefits in line with the idea of just serving, to make sure that everyone has the same chance to success, education, and work should be fair.
Today I'll be explaining Article 8 of the Federal. Article 8 guarantees that every person in Malaysia is treated equally before the law and entitled to equal legal protection. Its main purpose is to protect human rights, ensure fairness, and prevent injustice. This means that no individual should be discriminated against based on personal background. However, Article 8 is further strengthened through its subsections. Article 8 of the Federal Constitution explains how equality works in Malaysia, and its subsections help us understand how this principle is applied in real life. Subsection 1 sets the foundation by stating that everyone is equal before the law. This means no one is above the law and everyone is entitled to the same legal protection, regardless of who they are or where they come from. Subsection 2 strengthens this idea by clearly prohibiting discrimination. The government cannot treat people differently based on religion, race, place of birth, or gender. This applies to many areas such as making laws, offering public employment, owning property, and doing business. In simpler terms, personal background should not limit a person's opportunities. Subsection 3 reinforces equality by making sure that no one receives special legal treatment just because they are a subject of a ruler of a state. This shows that status or loyalty does not give someone extra legal privileges. Subsection 4 ensures that equality is applied consistently throughout the country. Public authorities are not allowed to discriminate against people simply because they live or work outside a certain area. This means our rights remain the same no matter where we are in Malaysia. As for subsection 5, allows limited exceptions such as personal laws related to religion or culture and certain job restrictions linked to religious or constitutional responsibilities. These exceptions exist to respect Malaysia's diversity, not to create unfairness. Overall, what I can say about the Article 8 is it balances fairness with reality. It promotes equality and justice while recognizing the country's diverse social and constitutional structure.
Hi, my name is Atanadira binti Amran and my metric number is 083277. So I will explain about the doctrine of reasonable classification. Article 8 is based on principle of equality. So what is equality? Equality here means that people in similar situation must be treated equally by the law. Don't treat similar people differently for no reason, but not mean that everyone must be treated in the same in all situations. For example, two students in one class, same rules should be treated equally. Meanwhile, a student and a teacher, which is not in the same situation, so treatment is different by rules. So why the law allows classification? Because the law knows that the people are different, so it allows grouping. The government can make groups, which is classes of people, example like children versus adults, doctor versus engineering, and etc. Next, the law does not say never make groups, but if you make group, treat everyone in the group equally. So when is classification is allowed? Classification is allowed in two conditions, which is intelligible differentia, clear reason for the group, and second condition is rational nexus, which the group reason must match the goal of the law. Last but not least, Article 8 forbids random, unreasonable, and unfair classification. These are called as class legislation and they are unconstitutional.
Hi, my name is Nur Adi binti Wak Kamaruzaman. My matrix number is 082833, and today I would like to present you about cases that related to Article 8 of the Federal Constitution. The first case is Suryani Kempe versus Organisation of Kerajaan Malaysia and other organisations. These cases were brought by the head of the family frontiers, Suryani Kempe, and 6 other plaintiffs that have been restricted basic necessities such as healthcare, education, housing, and social welfare for their children. This case was appealed on 2020. During the COVID-19, they struggled to return to Malaysia due to entry restriction on non-citizens. The main issue of these cases is whereby the Malaysian woman citizens married to foreign men does not have equal right as Malaysian citizen to get automatic citizenship, which is citizen by operational law. In Article 41B and Section 1B and 1C of Part 2 of the second schedule of the Federal Constitution, which refer to the father as the party who can confer automatic citizenships, the applicant argued that this provision constitute gender discrimination and violate Article 8 of the Federal Constitution of Equality. In Article 15 of the Federal Constitution, empowers the federal government to grant citizenships to children Malaysian citizen, which is citizen by registrations, rather than the citizenships by law in Article 14. As a result, Malaysian citizen mother facing this issue to submit appeals to confer citizenship on their children, and most of these applications have been rejected. On 9 September 2021, the High Court of Kuala Lumpur made a decision that the children of Malaysian citizen women, in these cases, are entitled to Malaysian citizenships. According to the ruling, this is consistent with Article 8(2) of the Federal Constitution, which prohibits any forms of gender discrimination as stated below. Except as expressly authorized by these constitutions, there shall be no discrimination against citizens solely on the grounds of religions, race, descent, place of birth, or gender in any law. These cases get a lot of reaction from the perspective of public, especially the rights of Malaysian women to get citizenship for their children. The decision of the High Court attracts a lot of parties about equality of citizenship in Malaysia. According to Gender Equality Right Observer, Catherine Harrington, this decision is expected to influence the government of other countries to undertake similar reforms regarding the conferral of citizenships. However, on 2022, the government decided to file an appeal with the High Court to overturn the decision.
This case involves Malaysian Bar and NL versus Government of Malaysia. The plaintiff is the Malaysian Bar, which is the professional body lawyers in Malaysia under the Legal Profession Act 1976. The defendant is the Government of Malaysia. In 1978, Parliament introduced Section 46A(1)(a), which requires a lawyer to have at least 7 years of experience to be eligible to hold positions such as a member of the Bar Council, the State Bar Committee, or any subcommittee. At that time, this requirement affected about 45% of lawyers in Malaysia, meaning nearly half of the legal profession was excluded from participating in decision making. As a result, the Malaysian Bar and a lawyer with less than 7 years of experience challenged the provision, arguing that it violated Article 8 of the Federal Constitution. They claimed the section discriminated against young lawyers and was unfair, as experience should not be the only factor in determining leadership. Article 8(1) states that all persons are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of the law. The government argued that the requirement was reasonable to ensure that the Malaysian Bar is administered by experienced professionals who can make some decision based on past experience. Therefore, the issue was brought before the Supreme Court to determine whether Section 46(1)(a) violate Article 8. And for the hell is, the court ruled that Section 46(1)(a) is valid and constitutional and does not violate Article 8(1). The court held that Article 8 allows reasonable classification if they are based on racial distinctions, serve a legitimate purpose, and are not arbitrary. The 7-year experience requirement was considered reasonable because leadership is the Bar Council requires maturity, ethical understanding, and extensive legal experience. The court also stated that being a member of the Bar Council is not a fundamental right and can be subject to reasonable conditions. As a result, the appeal was dismissed and Section 46(a) remained in force.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Baki Syaini Najwa and I'm going to wrap up our analysis. Article 8 of Federal Constitution is the heartbeat of justice in Malaysia, ensuring that every citizen is treated equally under the law. However, as we have seen, the court interpret this through a very specific lens known as the doctrine of reasonable classification. Essentially, the law doesn't have to treat everyone exactly the same if there's a logical reason not to. We saw a prime example of this in the Malaysian bar case. The court ruled that requiring 7 years of experience to lead the Bar Council was an unfair discrimination. It was a reasonable way to ensure professional maturity and stable management. But the road to equality has major roadblocks, particularly regarding gender. The Suryani Kempe case served as a wake-up call. While the High Court tried to be progressive by interpreting father to include mother for citizenship rights, the Court of Appeal reversed it. They chose a strict literal interpretation, arguing that because the Constitution specifically mentioned father, that specific rule overrides the general promise of equality. In conclusion, Article 8 is a strong guard against unfounded government action. Yet, our finding shows that until we address provision that expressly authorize discrimination within the Constitution itself, the promise of full equality remains an evolving journey for the Malaysian judiciary.